Welcome into episode 515 of the Skate Podcast. I'm Brian DeFelice, joined by Bridget Prue and Scott McLaughlin. Bridget and Scott, the Boston Bruins, prior to the game against the Montreal Canadiens, had lost 3 games in a row on home ice and 4 of 5. The commentary heading into the game was that it was a must-win. And so the Boston Bruins went out there and had their best game of the season start to finish and cruised to a they lost 6-2. They lost 6-2 to the Montreal Canadiens, and it was an absolute unraveling in the third period. A lot happened before that as well. We'll touch on all of that, but it's looking like a lot of coal in the stockings for the Bruins this Christmas.
Yeah, they ruined Christmas. They ruined it.
They just ruined it.
Unbelievable.
It was fun for like the first 20 minutes though, guys. Like that was fun. I mean, it started off like Canada, US, and 4 nations. Like Jeannot drops the gloves right away. And then Zadorov fights in the first period, and it's like, okay, yeah, no, this is like, hey, this is an important game, a rivalry game, whatever. We're gonna come out and we're gonna make it entertaining, and it's gonna be it seemed at that point like it was gonna be a close game the whole game, but that is not what happened. Because of some things that happened in the third period that we'll get into. But yeah, it started out like the atmosphere was great. And it seemed like they were engaged in everything that they needed to be in the first period. And then it just kind of started to fall off, and we'll talk about the reasons why. But everybody knew it was an important game because they needed to finish off the homestand, or, the part before the break strong. Instead, they finish it with 4 games in a row that they lose. So,
well, it starts later in the second period, and I think that's where Scott will pick up his opening shift here.
Yeah, I mean, we got to talk about the 2 controversial goalie interference plays. So late in the second, literally like final 10 seconds of the second period, it looks like the Bruins take a 3-2 lead. Pucks work to the front. Pasternak's jamming away. Elias Lindholm follows up and puts it in. Immediately waved off for goalie interference. Now, we see the replays, and we see, it's actually Uri Slafkovsky who bumps into his own goalie. It's not Pastrnak. I'm up in the press box. I'm waiting for the Bruins to challenge, and they don't. So the call stands. It's a split-second call by the ref to call goalie interference, and it doesn't go to replay. So they go into the intermission, and it's still a 2-2 game. And, obviously a million replays were shown during the intermission and on social media. So I'm sure everyone's seen it by now, but I heard the arguments for why, that might have stood even if they challenged it. It might have remained no goal. And it's, Pastrnak actually bumps Slafkovsky. And it's like, all right, I'm looking at it. 1, they're just fighting for position. It's not like he shoves Slafkovsky into Fowler. And 2, Alexander Carrier, Canadiens defenseman, actually bumps into Pastrnak, who then bumps into Slafkovsky. Like, there's a little bit of a domino effect. And then I also hear, after the fact, because I didn't even notice this in real time, Pasternak's stick might have been in Fowler's skates, or in his pads, rather. And maybe that was interference. That was what Marco Sturm cited after the game when he was, when I asked him about it. He said, we thought Pasternak's stick might have actually interfered. All right, so I go back and watch this, from 4 more different angles. Pasternak's stick grazes Fowler's pads. It does not move him. It does not affect him in any way. That is not interference. So, look, in my world where I'm in charge of things, that is never goalie interference. Nothing about that is goalie interference. Pastrnak does nothing that materially affects Fowler's ability to make a play. It's Slafkovsky skating into him that affects his ability to make a save. But I guess what I have to concede is that because there are people out there who seem uncertain, like I was listening to Morning Brew before we started recording, And Razor straight up said he thought it was goalie interference and it would have stood even if the Bruins challenged. Now, I can just 1,000% disagree with that, but also acknowledge that, like, I guess there's uncertainty there. In my world, there never would be. That would be clear as day, not interference. But I guess there's uncertainty. So anyways, fast forward to the third period now. 7 minutes in, Canadians score to take a 3-2 lead. Nick Suzuki goes in on a breakaway. Swayman makes a great save. Suzuki kind of goes up over the top of him. And Bolduc swoops in, buries the rebound. Bruins challenge this for goalie interference. And as soon as they do, I'm like, that wasn't very smart. Like, this isn't coming back. You know, Suzuki's just trying to make a move around Swayman. Like, yes, there's contact, but it's in the process of him trying to score. Swayman's way out of the crease. I'm like, I just think there's no chance that's getting overturned. And sure enough, it stands. So now it's 3-2. Canadians are going on the power play, and that is when it really all starts to snowball against the Bruins, which Bridget can take from there.
Yeah. So my opening shift, though I do want to get back to some things that you said there. After opening shifts, mine has to do with the penalties just piling up at that point. It starts with the failed challenge. You have to go, you give up a goal and you have to immediately go on the kill because you didn't get it correct. So that's, the risk in challenging and why it maybe would have made more sense to challenge the first one than the second one, but we'll get more into that later. I'm sure Brian has opinions about that too. But at this point, the Bruins, they have to go to the penalty kill. And then it becomes a 5-on-3. And there were multiple 5-on-3s that they had to try to kill off in that period. So it starts with the Cole Caulfield goal on the 5-on-3, which put Montreal up 4-2. And Lindholm then, as soon as that, now it's still a power play, right? Like it goes from 5-on-3 to 5-on-4. And then a few seconds into that, Hampus Lindholm gets called for tripping, right back to a 5-on-3. And then that Suzuki goal where he just bats it out of the air, makes it 5-3. Final score ends up being 5-2. Sorry, 5-2. Final score ends up being 6-2. And it just really started to fall apart after the failed challenge because the failed challenge turns into a penalty, which turns into another penalty and another penalty all in a row. And they end up just in this hole they went from it being a 2-goal deficit because of the Bolduc goal to a 4-goal deficit. And at a certain point, I think maybe the Suzuki goal was. I mean,
Bridget, sorry to correct, but the Bolduc goal makes it a 1-goal game. Like it's a 3-2 game. And then the Bruins just, like, to me, it seemed like they panicked. Like the Sturm challenge, it's like, that's a Hail Mary. That's like a desperation play. And I just don't know why it was needed. Like this 13 minutes left in the game. You're down by a goal. And the Bruins just went into like full panic meltdown mode.
Yeah. Sorry. Did I say 3-1? Because it was 3-2. So it's a 1-goal game, and then next thing you know, a few minutes later, it's 5-2. So it's a full change, and it was a meltdown. And I asked Sturm about it after the game, and he said he thought they were playing well before that, and that their 5-on-4 PK was good, but when you give up 5-on-3s, people are going to score. Pasternak said that too. Pasternak said if we had multiple 5-on-3s in the third period, we would have won. So obviously penalties make a big difference in this one. Self-inflicted, and it ends up just getting away from you and going from what was a really fun atmosphere to just like completely deflated halfway through the third period, and people started leaving early and.
Scott, do you have a final thought there?
Yeah, obviously we'll get a lot more into all of this. I will just say that coming from Sturm, that their 5-on-4 penalty kill was good. Your 5-on-4 penalty kill isn't good if you're taking more penalties during the 5-on-4 penalty kill. Like by definition, that makes it a bad kill. And we'll get into the cross-check call against Jeannot. I know there's been a lot made of that. Like there's so much to get to, but like I'll just start there quickly. Is like, taking more penalties while you're killing penalties is not a good penalty kill.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. It's a good point. There's certain episodes that we do where we like our opening shifts are kind of we say the three of them and then we really stick to one afterwards. I have a feeling that we're gonna harp on all three of these for the duration of this episode afterwards because there's a lot I want to get to, Scott, with yours and Bridget with yours and with yours, Bridget. It also kind of makes my mind detour when I think of Hampus Lindholm. It makes my mind detour to him and some of the other Bruins top players who I just have not liked their game for pretty much all of last night and for a lot of the last stretch of games. Again, you don't lose 5 of 6 without it being a whole array of issues. And to me, it oftentimes starts with their top players. And so let's bookmark their top players. I want to get to them too. My opening shift, you guys know over the last week or so, you've probably sensed some little angst, some warning in my voice when it came to the Vancouver game, heading into the Vancouver game. I talked about how that was a sneaky game for them. And then because it's a back-to-back and you lose that game, and now you have to win the Ottawa game. And, you lose the Ottawa game, now the pressure's mounted. It just, this week following that Utah win, there was so much potential for the Bruins because the standings are so tight. And to that point, they had won, I think, 4 or 5. And it's like, or maybe even 5 of 6. And the only stinker was Minnesota. And they had a chance to gain some separation. And instead, they've gone the opposite direction. And this time last week, okay, the Boston Bruins were second in the Atlantic Division in both points, 40, and points percentage, 588. Now, today, 4 games later, they're 6th in the Atlantic Division in points, 41, and 7th in the division in points percentage, 539. The rest of the division are on pretty extensive win streaks and or are just already above the Bruins in the standings, and they're just kind of, seesawing. Toronto's the one team that's kind of at the basement, but even, I'm sure they'll finally somehow, some way turn it around. They got a win against Pittsburgh yesterday. So I guess my point here is right now, based on the way that I see the team playing and the worrisome traits to me, their top players not playing very well, the team looking tired, the special team slipping, the goaltending slipping, everybody else around them playing good hockey. Right now, to me, this kind of feels like they're lying in their coffin on the season and the coffin door is open. Okay. It feels like whether that door closes or not, in my opinion, depends on this 5-game road trip. Because I think if they only win 1 or 2, I think that I think that's gonna be that might be curtains for this Bruins team. And I know there's a lot of fans out there who think, well, listen, this team was, a bottom 10 team to start the season. It's been fool's gold all year. This is who they are. It's who they always should have been, yada, yada, yada. And I'm not trying to discredit that. But the reality is you still have to see the games unfold. And so I guess what I'm saying is, like, now that we're seeing the games unfold, like, this is kind of my official stance on this. Like, I unofficially think this past week was so damaging when you combine their 5 of 6 losses. They've lost 5 of 6, and then the teams around them are playing well. I think this last week was unofficially a damaging week. I even wrote about it, I think, earlier in the week. I said, if the season goes south, I said, bookmark this week. This is before the Canadiens loss. I think this next road trip, could officially close the coffin door. It's up to them. They could go out there and they could go 3-0 and they can go 3-1-1. I'll still say, okay, they're still hanging around. They can go 4-1 or 4-1 or 5-0, and they're staying around. Anything less than 3 wins, I think it's tough sledding for a team that already has a lot going against them.
Yeah, the column I wrote for weei.com for Wednesday morning is the Bruins have arrived at another gut check moment. Like that they haven't been here really since that 6-game losing streak in October, right? Like that. And that was the tone we heard then from players. I remember Morgan Geeky saying, like, we have to decide now, like, which way the season's going. And they pulled themselves out of it, to their credit. They have to do it again. Like, after the game, multiple players and Sturm cited mental fatigue, saying, like, they think they've run into some of that this past week, which, listen, I have thoughts on that. Like, I think everyone's dealing with fatigue. Everyone has the same schedule. The Canadians were playing their third game in 4 nights as well, and they had to travel in. They've actually played one more game than the Bruins over the last 10 days because they also had another back-to-back in there. Like, so, all right, like, even if we want to give you that, well, okay, then you have to prove that. Then you have to use this 3-day break to fully recharge. And yes, then go on the road and have a good trip, right? Like, to what you're saying, Brian, if they go on the road and these struggles continue and they start with 2 losses, now it's 5 or 6 in a row, or, they win the first one but lose the next 2. Like, all right, well, then it wasn't just fatigue. Like, because here's the thing, if you're so fatigued that you can't recharge over these 3 days, then you're just not going to get back, period. Right? Like, you can't wait for the Olympic break to recharge. The season's done by then. Like, you're way too far out of it. So you better hope that you're only fatigued enough that 3 days is enough. Because you're not getting much more than that. Like, there's no other opportunity. There's no other way to overcome that fatigue. So you better hope that that's all it is. And, I have some doubts. Like I said, like, I'll need to see it. I'll need to see that they can pull themselves out of this. Because they are at a point here where it could go south pretty quickly. Like right now, this exact moment, they haven't played themselves out of anything. Just look at the standings. Like, technically they're 1 point out of 8th place. Now, game in hand, so you want to go by percentages, it's a little more than that, but it's like, you're still right, even with this 4-game losing streak, you're still right in the middle of it. You're in the thick of it. Like, win 3 in a row and you're probably back in a playoff spot. So you haven't killed your season yet, but if you don't turn it around right after this break, you could pretty quickly.
Yeah, and you mentioned the fatigue. I wanted to actually just read the quotes quickly. Pasternak brought it up. We speak to the players first, then the coaches. So Pasternak brought this up pre-Sturm saying anything. He said, what I think is it's the mental fatigue. I've been seeing it in a couple of games and in a couple of days. He also said he feels like he is part of that. And that, it seems to be catching up to the team, but him too. And Sturm's comment about it was, for me, it's a lot of individual mistakes, fatigue. Guys were just mentally not sharp. You can see it. It seems like all week we never really had that confidence. We couldn't find our mojo. So both people talking about how, and you could see it, right? Like, during this losing streak, you could see that there was a little bit of that spark that was missing. And so obviously players and coach are getting asked after the game, what's the common denominator in these losses that you think is, a main thing that you need to fix? And when the answer is mental or physical fatigue, the only way to fix that really is with rest. So they get 3 games. I think Zadorov said, somebody said, because a question was asked, is this a good time to hit the break? And he was like, I wish we hit it a game ago or whatever, like, stop it before it got to the 4 games in a row where they lose. And it's true. It's just, you need time to rest in order to fix that, if that is indeed the main problem. So I was trying to think to myself, like, not that I ever played at a really high level, but like, was there, when I was really fatigued, did 3 days ever feel like it was enough to help? And I don't know. I think it depends how you spend the 3 days. Holidays are also there, you have it physically off, but like, those can be demanding days and like long days when you have kids and you go into your in-laws and you do like there's a lot that goes on. We're recording this in the morning of Christmas Eve. Like as soon as we're done recording this, I have a bunch of stuff to do. And I'm sure these guys that have young kids are going to be building stuff into the night and putting together toys and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean it just doesn't matter though. Like the reality is like you have to pull yourself out of it. And if they can't, and if they just find more excuses to latch onto, like, it was the holidays, and then we have to fly out Saturday morning for the game in Buffalo. Like, well, then you're just not a good enough team. Like every team's dealing with this stuff. Like every team has a tough schedule.
Yes.
Everyone's gonna fight fatigue at some point. So if you're the one, if you're the team that can't overcome it, then you're just not good enough. Then you're not a playoff team in this, and you're going to be a seller again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just talking about life. You know what I mean? Like you get the
everyone's living life. Like everyone has a life. That they're not the only team that has players with families. Like
I know, Scott. What I'm trying to say is, and we don't need to get into a fight on Christmas, but like
I'm ready to fight. Listen, that
arrest is arrest when you're sitting, on the beach and you're, like you're just relaxing. Like this is days off, but not necessarily fully rest is my point. And I'm not saying that anybody, everybody should be able to find a way, whatever. It's just a fact. And the other thing I will say is on this road trip, there are 2 points where they have 2 days off in between games. So like there's a little bit of extra rest built into the road trip, more so I guess than just because of how compact the beginning of the season schedule has been. They've been playing so many games every other day or back to back, and maybe just getting that extra day in between kind of helps pick up some of that rest that might be needed. So anyway.
Well, listen, I'll just say this. I wouldn't mind seeing a couple of jersey jabs between the two of you guys, a couple of face washes. I'll play linesman, get in there. It's that's what the holiday is. It really the holidays if family isn't having a couple quarrels at the kitchen table?
Yeah,
that's kind of my point.
Couple professor quarrels.
Fire up Feliz Navidad. Let's get that playing in the background.
Yeah.
Listen, as far as the fatigue goes, guys, this is my read on it. I think, Bridget, to your question about could it be good to get away? I think mentally, I do think it's nice for the Bruins to clear their head away from the rink for a few days. Everybody in the league will have that opportunity. I think one thing that could benefit the Bruins is, and not just the Bruins, I think sometimes breaks can benefit teams that were struggling heading into the breaks and be detrimental to teams that were playing well into a little break, because you're kind of just so ever, messing with that flow, that rhythm that a team is in. But here's my bigger issue with the Bruins in their fatigue comments is that this is where the double-edged sword comes into play, where I have made comments in the past about how the way they play, teams don't want to play that way for 82 games because it's a hard way to play. And so there's going to be nights where you're going to catch teams off guard, you're going to outwork them, outwill them, and you're going to get the 2 points. But I do think the reason that the Bruins may be so fatigued right now compared to their counterparts around the league, even though they've all played a similar amount of games, is because of the way the Bruins have been playing for the course of those 38 games. That they're playing a harder style of play because they have to, because they don't have the talent that most playoff teams probably have up and down the lineup, let alone the contenders. So there are certain teams, and we've seen it with Bruins teams past, where you have a certain level of talent that allows you to get away with your B game, your C game. It's not the case with this Bruins team. They have to bring their best most nights if they want to win. Their special teams have to be excellent. Their goaltending has to be excellent. Their details have to be excellent. So I think my concern is that it's not just, it's more than just they need a couple of days off or a few days off on their road trip. To me, it's less about that, and it's more about, okay, why are you so fatigued compared to the other teams in the league that have same schedules? I think it's the way that they're playing, and because of their lack of talent, I don't see the way that they play their formula to success changing. So it's a more taxing brand of hockey, and I think that's what you're seeing. So That's my read on the fatigue. I don't know if it's a simple fix as going home for 3 days because they play the way that they have to play. And until James Higgins is wearing a spoked B, hopefully at the end of the season, certainly to start next year, until maybe a kid like Will Zellers, who we'll get to later on in this episode when we have our World Junior Corner talk, until a kid like Will Zellers or another Bruins prospect that really flashes and makes their presence known, or until the Bruins hit on a draft pick or two this year, or make some sort of hockey trade to bring in more talent, until this roster has more talent, they're going to have this problem of overworking themselves, overextending themselves for 2 points every night. And it has its benefits. It has its drawbacks. And I think we're kind of seeing that with the way they're talking about fatigue and whatnot.
Yeah, and I think, Brian, like, actually physically not having certain people available, like Jonathan Aspero, like the actual injury, like the physical part of it, the injuries that guys have played through or have had to miss time for, like David Pastrnak, we know is dealing with an injury, and I'd be surprised if he's 100%, right? Like he seems like he wanted to get back out and see what he can do, and like he's still probably playing through whatever it was that kept him out a few games, and just finding a way to manage it. And I think a few of these guys, if you ask them, would tell you they're not feeling 100% physically, not just the mental fatigue part of it. So that doesn't help. And I think that's kind of what you're talking about too, Brian, is like you wear your own body down to the point where you're injury prone, or you're more injury prone, or you're dealing with just not being 100% because you're working extremely hard every game and you're not giving your body a chance to recover, and you're putting it in situations where there's a lot of collisions, contact, and what have you. So yeah, the physical part of the game wears you down too, not just the mental part.
There's a lot of shot blocking. They lead the NHL in blocked shots because they spend a lot of time in their own zone 5-on-5, and they kill a lot of penalties. And that means you're standing in front of a lot of pucks, and that takes a toll. So yeah, I mean, like that, it's all valid, and you're right. Like we had this conversation, I don't know, probably a few weeks ago, a month ago, and like that's what I asked. I was like, does this style like eventually wear them down? Seems like it might be right now. So again, like that, but that's that's what makes this such a crucial moment in the season is, if it's like either they can just reset and get back to it and pull themselves out of it, or if they're like really hitting a wall at this point in the season that they can't get past, then you know what? Then I guess better to hit it now, slide, and have it be very obvious like what direction you go ahead of the trade deadline, right? Like if this team has done everything it can and battled through 3 months, and now they're just gonna not be able to keep it up. Well, as the general manager, like you want to know that, because then you can sell pieces off, you can get more assets to build for the future, and go that direction. But we'll see. Like obviously that's not what they're thinking internally. They've still, Nikita Zadorov said last night, like he said, we still have a lot of belief in this room. We're a good team and we're going to do it. So internally they think like they're going to stay in this fight and they can pull themselves out of this. So we'll see, like let's see them prove it, starting with this road trip.
Yeah, Alex Steves had a comment about that too. I'll just read it quickly. He said, when he was asked about the losing streak, he said, "It's terrible. It stings. Really, this whole homestand going into the break, it's unfortunate. But I think moments like these, where you find out how tight the group is. And I know we have a tight group, and I know we'll bounce back from this, and we'll be stronger because of it. It stings for now, but we have these 3 days to refresh mentally and come back ready for a huge push up until the Olympic break."
Okay, so that last thing you just said is where I wanted to go with this. If I'm them right now, that's how I'm playing this in that room. Guys, let's go home, clear the heads, come back for this road trip, and we have a 2-week break coming in February. Until then, we got I want to say 17 games, maybe 19 games. It's under 20. You got to leave it all out there for the next month and a half. And then you get 2 weeks off. And you got to refresh then. Obviously, there's going to be certain players playing in the Olympics, but that goes for every team. But you got to leave it all out there until the Olympic break. See where you're at and get a 2-week break then. And then you come back from the Olympic break, and I'm sure certain teams may be rusty because they're they haven't played. So you have to break it down like that if I'm this Bruins team, because it's too overwhelming to think that they have another whatever it is, like 2 games left without and playing the way that they have to play to be successful without a 2-week break in the middle of it. You got to lean into that Olympic break and say, okay, go balls to the wall until then, and we'll get our rest. Sorry, Bridget, but go Christmas bulbs to the walls until then, and we'll get our rest. And that's how they have to play it. But as far as like the injuries go and the wear and tear, it's like, yeah, I know Pastrnak is probably playing through something, other guys too. But you know what? I'm sure if you ask Nick Suzuki or Cole Caulfield, like I'm sure they're dealing with something. Everybody deals with something, and I just think it's the way the Bruins play. It's too taxing. Like you said, Scott, you said it. They're killing constantly. And when you're killing, you're tiring out your PKers. Your top guys aren't getting their touches. It's just, and then the PK has been struggling, and the goaltending has been not great. And then again, you combine that with their top players. Like for me, when I watch David Pastrnak, yeah, I don't think his skating isn't jumping out to me. Like his skating is that far behind what he usually does. I just think that little half step separation he's probably accustomed to getting, he's not really there right now. So it's not super noticeable, but it's enough. But what confuses me about him is like his puck touches seem off. He's mishandling pucks, and he has some of the best hands we've ever seen in the Spoke B. So it's not like he's incapable, but his decision making is a bit off. We know his goal scoring has been off. He has an assist to Alex Steves in the game, so it's one of those things where it's like, okay, but he gets a point. For me, it's more than just the points here and there. It's like, he's one of the best forwards in the world. He hasn't looked dominant in quite some time, and I think it's very clear it's because of an injury and a combination of lack of confidence. Charlie McAvoy at times, I know he's coming back from injury the last few weeks, but he has the puck in the slot and golden chance to score. It was in the third period. I think it may have been right before actually Montreal took the lead, and he picks his head up, and all of a sudden the puck just falls off his stick and he falls down, and it's to Suzuki and Caulfield 2-on-1 the other way. Doesn't bite the Bruins. I'm like, what's happening there? And Hampus Lindholm, guys, the way he plays, I feel like he's that bubble hockey player in the corner with the stick that's 3 times the size of everybody else's. He's just tripping everything in sight, hooking everything in sight in blatant fashions at terrible junctures of games on a penalty kill already to start a game. And this has been a consistent theme for him lately. And then when he has the puck on his stick, especially on the power play, so much so that they replaced it with Lori later in the game, it's like I took my TV remote and turned the speed down. His decision-making is molasses. I said, what's going on with you, Hampus? Have you not played hockey since your injury a year ago up until this season, and you're just, it's starting to catch up to you? Like what's going on? Because he seems like a shell of who he is.
Yeah.
Can you turn the speed down on a TV? I can fast forward and rewind, but I don't think I've ever.
Not in 4K, but I think in traditional maybe you can.
On YouTube you can, but
Brian's still got rabbit ears.
It's coming in fuzzy.
I do. I listen on the radio and I just visualize everything.
Yeah, I mean that Hampus Lindholm trip is just like, it's such careless stick position after your team just gave up a 5-on-3 goal and is now just trying to survive the rest of this penalty kill. And the guy comes down the boards and like you're just lunging out and get the stick in the skates. Like this team
and then he snaps his neck to the heavens like he has no idea how he got called for it. Like, yeah. Hampus, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's so undisciplined. Like, yeah, undisciplined. And the first 5-on-3 too, probably worth getting to this. Like, so there's Zachary Bolduc. First off, if he sticks in Montreal, like he's gonna be one of those players you just absolutely hate for 10 years. He is such a rat. And listen, you Bruins fans, you supported Brad Marchand forever, so you can't get too worked up about it. Like, game got to recognize game a little bit, but he is such a rat. So, like, he bumps the door off, then he bumps McAvoy. McAvoy shoves him back, and then he's skating. He kind of purposely directs himself to like right where the Bruins are changing to get a new penalty kill unit on. Tanner Jeannot gives him a quick little cross check to the ribs. And then Fraser Minton comes in and shoves him, and Bolduc flops to the ice. And they call Jeannot for the little cross check. In a vacuum, in a perfect world, should the refs just let that go? Yeah, they should. Like, you shouldn't call a penalty there to put the Bruins on a 5-on-3. But if you're the Bruins, why are you even taking that chance? Like, why are you even giving the refs the opportunity to call something there? 3 guys take an extra shot at Bolduc. McAvoy gives him a shove. Jeannot gives him a cross check. Minton pushes him. It's like, why? Why do all 3 of you, as you're going off the ice, feel the need to get in that one extra shot when you're the most penalized team in the league and you're already under a microscope? And by the way, this Bolduc guy's a flopper. He did it in the game up in Montreal. Like, he's going to try to sell a call. Like, why even put yourself in that position where you might get called for it? Just finish your change. Just get off the ice, keep killing the penalty. If you want some revenge, find an opportunity to do it later. Again, like, in my world, the refs aren't calling that. They're just letting it go, chalk it up to shenanigans between 2 rivals and play on. But don't even give them the chance. Like, don't even put yourself in that position. You are on everyone's radar. You're the most penalized team in the league by far. Everyone is looking at you. Everyone knows that's what you are. So, yes, the Canadians are looking for chances to sell calls, and the refs are looking for chances to call you. You've done that to yourself. You have that reputation. Don't play into it. Just don't give them the chance.
1,000%, Scott. I mean, well said. It's mind-boggling to me how quickly the Bruins, because this wasn't the case. I mean, they've been taking penalties all year, but the unraveling, this is now. I had it last night. I think the Ottawa game was the 6th time in 37 games the Bruins have given up at least 6 goals in the game. Only for the next game for it to become the 7th time in 38 games the Bruins have given up at least 6 goals in the game. They are starting to become that unraveling team that they were last year. And earlier this year, we kind of commended them for their stick-to-itiveness and how they had not been that team anymore. But it starts with okay, you give up a goal to go down 3-2. I think Sturm and the coaching staff was probably trying to atone for not challenging the Pastrnak, the Lindholm goal on the Pastrnak goalie interference, and maybe we're hoping that the refs were going to even things out a little bit, and they were dead wrong. So then you go to the PK, and then on the PK, it's just the undisciplined acts that they committed. It's like you cannot unravel like that just because you went down 3-2. It's like, what are you doing? It's almost like the Bruins are leaning into this. They're leaning too far into the piss and vinegar, I think. Like, they know that they're a group that's supposed to pretty much be like the Bash Brothers. And if it's like, guys, you gotta respect the game. You have to stay disciplined. You have to respect the game. You cannot just go running around when things get a little bit chaotic because you're the piss and vinegar Bruins. And you're right, Scott. I think the league's just laughing at Boston at how many penalties they take. It's insane. It is. It's brain melting, is what it is.
Both games against Montreal, they've given the Canadians 7 power plays.
And the PK is struggling for it now. It's like we talked about it, like, oh, well, they're taking a lot of penalties, but they're top 10 in the league. Okay, well, I haven't checked this morning, but, they were 20th in the league heading into action. They're probably down to 20, 21, 22. I mean, they may have jumped down for 3 or 4 spots. I don't know, but it's like, okay, well now you're taking the most penalties in the league by far, by a country mile, and you're now like a bottom 10 PK percentage in the league. So it's a terrible combination.
They wake up on Christmas Eve 19th in the NHL in the PK.
Somehow they improved
79.2%.
So they jumped up a spot despite last night.
Yeah, I guess someone above them must have had a brutal night.
Yeah.
Well,
PK.
All right. Well, still, the amount of penalties that they're taking and being 19th is a terrible combination because I don't know. But Bridget, do you have any final thoughts on the discipline?
I mean, yeah, I think that you guys covered pretty well, but I definitely wanted to go back to kind of where it all started with the reviews, which we haven't gotten back to quite yet. And obviously we post some audio and stuff after the games, fans react. This is one that I got that kind of leads back to that conversation from Luke. He says they do have a team that reviews everything in slow motion and then tells him. And he said, so they also are to blame for that as well. And he said, I think 2 people showed up tonight, and they were the 2 people that dropped the gloves.
Well, and your 2 goal scorers are Husnudinov and Steves in a 4th-line role. Now, granted, I think the Steves one was maybe a power play goal.
It was, yeah.
So
his first career power play goal.
Yeah, but it was a pass from Pasternak, but it's like it just goes to illustrate that the top guys just weren't there tonight or last night. But yeah, I mean, as far as the original the Lindholm goal that was called back or waved off, just generally speaking, wasn't even called back because it was no challenge. I think, I was telling you guys before we started recording, it's easy in hindsight to look back and be like, well, if you were willing to challenge was it Bolduc? The Bolduc goal on the Suzuki interference, or actually no, was it Bolduc himself? Or was it Suzuki? It was Suzuki, yeah. It's like
Bolduc score. Yeah, Suzuki had the first chance. Bolduc the follow up.
But the contact was Suzuki, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's easy to look back now and say, well, if you were willing to challenge that, then you should have challenged the Lindholm goal. But obviously, when the Lindholm goal happened, the Bruins didn't know that a half hour later there was going to be another opportunity for goalie interference with the Montreal Canadiens being the goal scorers there. So to me, it's kind of like you have to compartmentalize the two, right? Like you could have not challenged the Lindholm goal, and you shouldn't have. And to your point earlier in the episode, Scott, like you still shouldn't have challenged the Bolduc goal. Like it feels like that was like the Bruins trying to. I think you called it a Hail Mary. They were like feeling some type of way about maybe a missed opportunity with the Lindholm goal, and they wanted to make right on it. It's like, no, it's a different situation. Like it's now you're down 3-2 in the game, and you're on the PK, and we all saw the rest. As far as the Lindholm goal, if their mindset there is they might uphold it, and now we're gonna give Montreal a power play to pretty much start the third period tied 2-2. I don't know if you're that sure it's a goal, which you probably should have been. Then it's worth taking the risk. Like I'd be because I feel like, and you're right, Scott. You said earlier, like Razor had a different opinion. There's different opinions out there. Maybe the refs uphold their call and they say no goal, Boston, Montreal power play 2-2 game. I still feel like maybe it would have been like a 65-70% chance the Bruins get that goal called in their favor. So it's like you have to be able. It's all about like risk management. You take that risk there. And then as far as the process goes, like, yeah, Bridget, you mentioned that. Yeah, they have like Matt Myers and others. They have video coordinators they're on the ball the entire game. You've seen it in if you're viewers of Behind the B in past years, past episodes, they've actually done features on the Bruins video staff and their daily game day experience. And these guys, they're all over everything. They are the technology that's available to them, their ability to be on top of everything in a quick, immediate fashion and get in the head pieces of the coaches is second to none. It's very impressive what they do. And they have a very good feel for what's going to stand and what won't. Even though sometimes refs make the judgment calls, it's like you do your best. my opinion, I don't think that the Bolduc goal was a situation where the Bruins video staff got into the earpiece of Chris Kelly and said, that's coming off the board, challenge that. I feel like they were probably saying, I don't know, guys. It's pretty iffy. It's your call. Like it's 50-50. It's your call. And I think the Bruins coaching staff took it from there. So I don't even want to blame the video staff there because I think they probably gave the coaches an honest opinion.
Yeah, we don't know Marco Sturm's process or philosophy on this. Mostly just he hasn't revealed that to us. Like, I know Jim Montgomery's approach was, if the video staff tells me they're like 95% plus sure that we're going to win the challenge, I'll challenge. But like, that was his approach, was like, they need to be sure. They tell me they're sure, I'll challenge. Otherwise, I'm not going to bother. I don't know Sturm's approach. Like, is it the same, or is Sturm more? He's very much gut feel with other things. He's talked about that, whether it's line changes or lineup shuffling or whatever.
Sending Andrew Peak in the shootout.
Yeah, that came in like really loud. I don't know.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I didn't change anything.
Yeah, so like Sturm's talked about that. Like, is that the same here? Like, is that a gut thing for him in the moment where he's like, I just feel like I want to challenge this? Like, I don't know. Does he challenge when it's 60-40 instead of 90-10? We just don't really know. Like, different coaches have different approaches on this stuff.
Well, and I do want to say, because I think all right. So just to set the backstage to this, talking about the first one where they didn't review it, the Elias Lindholm goal. Looking back at it, because like you said, Scott, like, people posted it. I've watched it many times since it happened. And I think I know what Razor is saying, because I for Hockey East, just for fun, I take the ref test every week. So they send a test out to their refs, and you have to, score a certain amount. Like, for me, it doesn't, like, I just do it to make sure that I understand, and I get the explanations every week. So like, I do feel like it helps me understand how to explain it when I'm broadcasting and know what I'm looking for. And it adds a little bit of that. So I think it's useful. And every single time we get a goalie interference question, like, they show the video, you have to say, is it goalie interference? Is it not? Whatever. It doesn't take much for most things to be called back for goalie interference. It does not take much. There's been many times I've gotten it wrong because I'm thinking, oh, that doesn't stop him from playing his position. But minimal contact will get a goal called back. Like, most occasions, it's not, oh, should he have moved? Or no, it's, did he get in there just enough? Like, goalie interference is such a sensitive call where they almost always give the goalie the benefit of the doubt. And especially because it was called no goal on the ice, and Sturm mentioned this, you have to take that into consideration. I'm not surprised. Like, I thought they were going to challenge in real time, but I'm not surprised if they heard from their video staff, hey, it's probably enough for them to, like, it's not a sure thing that this is going to go our way.
Like, you're not wrong. I just, philosophically, I don't know why we're looking for reasons to take goals off the board. Like, why are we looking for the slightest contact to take away a goal? Like that's, again, you're right. Like, they are doing it. So I guess I get that, like, okay, you have to live by their rules, but I don't know why we're doing that. Like, again, all I come back to is David Pastrnak did not affect Jacob Fowler's ability to make a save there. He didn't. The contact he made with Slafkovsky was incidental. It was positional battling, and it was Carrier bumping Pastrnak. Like, in my world where I'm NHL czar, that is a goal 100% of the time. It's black and white, clear as day. There's no confusion. Like, But
So I
But
have
I'm with you.
I'm not in charge, unfortunately.
If I got that on my ref test, I'm not gonna lie, I probably would have said good goal. Like I've gotten them wrong so many times that now I look at it differently. I'm like,
And by the way,
I've
like
been wrong so many times on this.
by the way, even people, closer to this than we are, get the stuff wrong. I think it was John Cooper. It was an experienced coach. I saw something. This was probably like a couple weeks ago now. That again, I'm gonna say it's John Cooper, but I might be confusing. It might have been a different coach that's been around forever. Has lost 6 straight goalie interference challenges. And it's like, so that's a coach that's like been around and been through this and seen every piece of video the NHL sends out that's gone 0 for his last 6 on goalie interference challenges.
Yeah, there's so many different plays that can happen at the net front, and there's so many different refs on the ice who just have different interpretations, probably within themselves on a nightly. Like the inconsistency is a real problem, and the interpretations of the rules are always misguided and misinterpreted, and sometimes they get it right, sometimes they get it wrong. Sometimes the same ref will get things right and wrong. Like it's not like certain refs are always right and are always like there's inconsistency with every one of them. But let me just read the rule here. And again, when I read this rule, just know these rules are very seldom followed to the T. So it's like, well, that's the rule, but how often is it followed? So that's kind of another point too. But rule, what is it? 69.1, interference on the goalkeeper. This is a few paragraphs down. If a defending player has been pushed, shoved, or fouled by an attacking player so as to cause the defending player to come into contact with his own goalkeeper, such contact shall be deemed contact initiated by the attacking player for purposes of this rule, and if necessary, a penalty assessed to the attacking player. And if a goal is scored, it would be disallowed. So that's that's the letter of the law, and it's interpreted by fans, players, coaches, and refs, however it is. And
well, can I read one distinction that I have from my notes of doing this? It's and what they're looking for that this factors in. Has the attacking
I will quickly
Scott,
note
can
too.
I just finish? Can I finish what I was saying? This is what I was told they look at when they're doing this. One of the things is, has the attacking player made a responsible effort to avoid contact? I don't know if that was anything they were looking at. Like, did they think Pastrnak didn't have to go there, didn't have to do that? Like, that is one of the things they look at.
Yeah, and NHL and college are slightly different too. Like they're not the exact same, but in this specific case, like if they are looking at that, I think Pastrnak did make a legitimate effort to avoid it. Like you see him like stop and like change his body position to not bump Fowler. So like, yeah, like I do think Pastrnak made an effort. Again, in my world, that's a goal, but we're gonna be ticky-tack and look for reasons to take goals away because there's too much scoring, I guess. So no goal.
well, here's what we do know. We do know that there's a possibility that if the Bruins challenge that play, that they enter the third period with a 3-2 lead, and the game is potentially, well, certainly it would be a different outcome because they would have 3 goals, not 2. But they possibly win that game. But what we certainly know is that it didn't happen, and then the third period was just inexcusable. Like the third period was inexcusable. I didn't think the Bruins necessarily were great either in the first 2 periods. Like, yeah, there was the Zadorov fight and the Jeannot fight, and they had their moments, but I still found them to be a little too loosey goosey with the puck there. I mean, the Lorei turnover, it's like he gives, he takes, right? Like absolutely brutal turnover that leads to a Montreal goal. And yes, he has a great assist to Hussein later, makes up for it the next shift, but it's like that's a bad turnover. There's a Zadorov miscommunication with Pastrnak and leads to the Demidov goal, like bad play. It felt like the Bruins were just misconnecting on basic passes all night. Like it would just be a few feet in front of the intended target constantly, and it would just go back to the Canadians and possession change and leads to an extended defensive zone shift. So even before the Lindholm, what could have been a Lindholm go ahead goal, I wasn't in love with Boston's details anyway. Then you get to the third period and it's 2-2. And because of how I felt about the Bruins details in the first 40, I honestly said, I was like, if I have to bet who's going to win this game tonight, I'm going to say it's Montreal, because I just felt like they were, and they weren't fantastic either, but they have, when you have two teams and neither team's playing like great hockey, I'm always going to lean towards a team that has a few players that can make difference, can make plays. And Montreal has more playmakers, in my opinion. So I didn't feel great heading to the third. And, we all know what happened in the third. It kind of snowballed from that goaltender interference situation. But it's you lose 5 of 6, guys. It's not just one. And I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know, but you lose 5 of 6. It's more than one play. It's more than one guy. It's just it's too much. You're finding ways to lose because you're overcompensating for a lack of talent, or I don't know what it is, but it's just not good enough. Coaching on out, goaltending, defense, forwards, just not good enough. Top players, not good enough.
Yeah, I mean, I would take the Bruins' first period 100 times out of 100. Like, yeah, you have the Lorei mistake, but the Bruins were the better team in the first. They outshoot them 17-8. High danger chances were 5-0 Bruins. Like, I'll take that.
How about the second?
They're the better team. They come out with the lead.
How about the second period?
And then the Canadians take control in the second. They were the much better team in the second period. Yeah. So, and they tie the game. They score the only goal that period. Again, Bruins, in my mind, should have had a goal late, but didn't. But like, all right, so that's been a game where you each got a period. It's everything is even across the board going into the final 20. And that's where they just unraveled, or they got tired, or both, or whatever you want to say. But like, yeah, the Canadians were just they were just much better positioned to win that game and to take advantage in the third period.
Who would you rather be in that? I'm curious to you guys here, like in that situation, tied game going into the third period. Would you rather be the team that had the better second or the better first? And I'm not asking that to be like adversarial. Like truly, I feel like in that situation, and maybe this is why I felt more in favor of Montreal going into the third. To me, I'm like, recency bias comes into play. It's like they've been playing better more recently into the third period. Like Boston, it's like, okay, that was like an hour ago in real time, and both teams are getting into the game, and so it's important. You want to be the team that gets off to a better start. I'm not discrediting what they did in the first, but if we're talking tied game going into the third, do I put more weight in the team that had the better start or the better, more recent period? I'm always going to go, well, whoever was playing better. I feel like they're getting to the game more frequently as we go into the third. So I it's like, okay, yeah, well, both teams got a period, but I kind of feel like there's a little bit more weight in the Canadians period at that juncture of the game.
Yeah, I would agree. And you're able to take let out a big sigh of relief because the goal gets called back and in the final seconds. So exactly. Obviously, if that gets called a goal and it stands, then all the Canadians' hard work in the second period feels like it's down the drain because now you're losing. So, I get you'd rather be the Canadians, and if you're the Bruins, you're shaking your head going into the mission, feeling like you just got screwed. Now, sometimes the team can rally around that, right? Like circle the wagons, like, hey, you know what? They took that from us, but screw it. We're just going to go get another one. Obviously, that's not the way it went for the Bruins. But yeah, it did. The thing is, it's like, all right, even if there is some fatigue setting in at that point, just and maybe, if you want to blame mental fatigue for the mental mistakes in the third, but it's like, either way, they still are just a team that lost their composure. And like I said earlier, I feel like panicked at a time when they just didn't need to panic. Like, the 3-2 game with 13 minutes to go, to me, that's not desperation time. Like you want a certain amount of desperation in your game, but they started acting like, I don't know, like the game was over and like they need to do something drastic to try to get it back.
I feel like though, like, all right, you do start looking desperate when you're killing penalty. Like they had no choice. Like they were in that situation.
But again, that's they put themselves in that situation.
I just keep going back to like I just there's no way, guys, and what is Sturm's process, Scott? You asked that question. We don't know. Like, is it six? I don't know what his process is. What I can tell you is like, without being in that room, I'm pretty confident. There's just no way that those video coaches told the Bruins like, yeah, it's one of those 95 plus. Like I have to imagine that they're because they see what we see and they know more than us. Like they know the rules way better than us. Like that's their job is to, like, you know, among other responsibilities, is part of their job is for you know, challenge videos for challenging. And it's like there's no way the video coaches said to the coaches on the bench, yeah, no, guys, like we're pretty confident that's coming back. No fucking way. There's no way. There's no way. I don't know what Sturm's process is, but I can tell you there's no way that those coaches said that.
Yeah.
I just don't see it.
And that's the first penalty. And then you're more likely to take a penalty like when you're already down because you have to reach and you have to, you're out of position more, like, so then they keep adding on from there. So like if they don't have that original penalty, do things spiral? I don't think they spiral like that. That was one of the craziest like sequences of things just going wrong and being down 5-on-3 multiple times in the span of a few minutes is like most people can't manage killing that off, right? Like it was, as soon as it's 5-on-3, I'm like, well, that's pretty much, it's going to be a goal. Like a lot of times that's what it takes. And so it happened to him twice, scored twice. And at that point, it felt like it was out of reach, right? By the time that's 5-2, it feels like, all right, there's just not a whole lot they could have done after that. Because I know they gave up another goal, but like the life was out of the building. The life, when you're already maybe fatigued, trying to get yourself out of a 3-goal deficit, I don't know.
And you guys want to talk about, like, so first and foremost, again, you lose 5 of 6. It's because you're not playing well enough. You're not executing well enough. But like that Nikita Zadorov play where his stick snaps, like you also just had a ton of bad luck too. But like I do feel like sometimes bad luck happens to teams that kind of deserve it or aren't, you know, or they're going through it. Like that was just one of those. You got to be kidding me. So it's right after the Lindholm no goal. It's like McAvoy fell on a slot chance a few minutes before. It's like I'm just like, what these guys, man. Of course the stick snaps.
Yeah, well, Zadorov's stick snaps. It leads to Canadians' goal. Then the Canadians are on the power play. Demidov's stick snaps.
No, it was Dobson.
Was it Dobson?
I think it may have been Dobson's. But either way, yeah, it was a
yeah, you're right. And it goes right to Caulfield. And so that also leads to a Canadians' goal. Like right. It worked out perfectly where it was like it set up like a perfect pass that, you know, it's like Swayman's caught off guard because he's expecting the puck to obviously move way faster. And like the Bruins PK is out of position. Now Caulfield's like, I'll take this. All right, cool. Goal.
Yeah.
And quick last thing just on the penalties, because we've talked about the ones in the third period. I mean, the foolish penalties started way before that. Like we talk about Hampus Lindholm, 29 seconds into the game, with the whole building jacked up, the Janot fight off the opening faceoff, just reaches out and grabs a guy and gets called for holding. And it's like, what are you doing? Like the first shift of the game, like what are you doing? Alex Steves like swinging a stick around, 4-minute double minor high stick. Like again, it's just like those are just undisciplined. Like not in the sense of like losing your cool, but like literally like losing control of your stick, your hand, like just again stuff that you're gonna get called for. And yeah, like those didn't lead to goals, but like they do, Hampus Lindholm doing that right off the bat, like kills early momentum and with the entire crowd behind you. And Steve's, it's like that takes 4 minutes to kill and takes you out of rhythm.
It's like how do you do that? If you're Hampus Lindholm, how do you do that? Discipline is being preached. It's probably been preached all year by the Bruins coaching staff. The magnitude of this game. You're on the bench, you're right, or you're on the blue line. Where I forget if you started or not. You hear Todd Angeli doing both anthems. You hear the crowds jazzed up. It's Boston, it's Montreal. Jeannot drops the gloves off the opening face-off. The crowd, and then you get a hold. How do you do that? How do you start the game on the penalty kill after all that? It's like, so after all of that energy, now we got to watch Lane Hudson and Suzuki and Caulfield snap it around and Demidov for 2 minutes. And it is like now you take away that opportunity for that opening forechecking shift at home with the crowd. I know you said the first period was good for the Bruins, Scott, and it was. So ultimately, it just didn't. It's you want to pull your hair out and honestly take a shot every time Hampus Lindholm gets a minor penalty for the rest of the year and bring the Advil, because I don't know what can we talk about his game just quickly? Like I don't want to gloss over him in particular. His game has not been good, and we've touched on it in recent episodes. He's hesitant with the puck, like you read about. Honestly, in all three zones, and there's shifts where like he skates with the puck and he shows that his powerful stride and stuff. And he has some good moments too. Like he had a really good defensive stick on a Montreal power play in the second that took away a Shore Slavkovsky one-timer goal. He has his moments, but again, I'll ask this: are we overrating him right now? Like on this podcast, and are we overrating who he is at this point in his career? Are my expectations too high for him? Maybe they are. Maybe he's not as good as I once thought he was. Or he's just not. He's just a player who's 32 and he's battled injuries, and I don't know, but he's not being the defenseman that the Bruins need him to be. He's just not.
So I maintain that they need to get split up that Lindholm Peak pairing. And I'm not blaming Hampus Lindholm's struggles on Andrew Peak. Like that would be incredibly unfair to Andrew Peak. But what I will compare it to is early.
He's a Peaker's a shootout expert. Like Lindholm's not a shootout guy. Come on, put some respect on his name.
But what I'll compare it to is early in the season where Charlie McAvoy and Mason Lohrei are really struggling as a pair. And we made this clear at the time. Like Charlie McAvoy was struggling individually. It wasn't all because he was paired with Mason Lohrei. But when Sturm finally broke that up and put McAvoy with Nikita Zadorov, all of a sudden he starts playing way better. And like those two things are connected. When you're on a pair that just isn't working and is getting scored on, the same way that D partners can elevate each other when they're both playing well, you start to drag each other down, and it just becomes like this like self-defeating cycle. And the Lindholm Peak pair on the season now at 5-on-5, the Bruins have been outscored 17-7 with them on the ice. It is not working. Maybe it will at some point down the line, but it has not worked this season. It's not working now. Get them away from each other and see if they find their games with other partners. I know that's tough to do right now because the Bruins are so depleted in defense. Jonathan Aspero is on the ice for morning skate. Sturm said there's a chance he returns on this road trip. So maybe you have another option on the way in the next couple games. I've said before, like I wouldn't mind trying Lindholm McAvoy for a little bit. Maybe put Zadorov with Peak and see if that levels. Maybe playing with McAvoy brings up Lindholm, and maybe playing with Zadorov brings up Peak. But I also get why you don't want to go away from Zadorov McAvoy. But whether it's that or whether it's trying Aspero with Lindholm and you drop Peak down to the third pair once Aspero comes back, like I do think you have to do something because those two are not pulling each other out of it. They're not helping each other get on track right now.
And I mean, this is probably a good time to just mention something that happened with the D. So there was a transaction. So Soderstrom had been playing on that third pair. He got reassigned to Providence during the game it was announced. So he had played 8 games, was approaching that 10-game number where it would have required waivers. So he gets sent down, and Vladislav, I'm gonna get it right. Vladislav Kolyachonok. Yes, did I do it?
Kolyachonok?
Yeah, you don't have to take 25 seconds to say it. That's
well,
not.
I do.
That's not in the pronunciation.
I second guess myself.
You should be teaching
through.
us. You should be teaching us with your broadcasting background.
Listen, sometimes
you're asking me. I can't even say Yoki Haru right.
Now
you said it right that time.
Now I will say in the locker room Tuesday morning, Ryan Johnston from the radio broadcast asked Kolyachonok how to pronounce his name. And he said Kolyachonok. He's
like Smith.
And then he said it doesn't matter. There's no wrong way. And I'm like, yes, there is. Like a lot of European players do this because I think they think like they don't want to like feel like they're pressuring media into saying it a certain way. But like I know Bridget feels the same way, and I feel this way. It's like I would rather they just tell me like how should it be said, and like I will make an effort to learn it that way. I get why players do it, but I'm always like, don't tell me there's like not a wrong way to say it. Like there is, like it's your name. Like we will figure it out. But so anyways, so the NHL pronunciation guy says Kolyachonok. He said Kolyachonok. So I don't know.
So that guy. He played his first game with the Bruins.
Coley.
Yeah, just like Kuzi. We just start writing Coley. But he played his first game for Boston after being claimed off waivers. It took a few games for them to get him in. But he finally does get in on that third pair with Lorei, replacing Soderstrom. And I didn't have any issues in his game. I thought that he looked... I don't know if I would say, better than any of the other guys that have rotated in throughout the season. But he definitely was, he seemed like he was sharp enough, and I don't know, maybe he'll pan out to be something that the Bruins needed because they have dealt with the injuries to Yoki Haru, Callahan, Aspero, Harris. Yeah, like it just... Maybe they need him, or maybe these guys all get healthy and there's no need for him. So remains to be seen. Depends on how long those guys are out, who wins the spot, how people heal, and what they, are they rusty, all of that stuff. So just while we were talking about the D, I wanted to mention that.
Yeah, I didn't really like that pairing very much. Now, I will say Kolyachonok made a couple nice plays like going forward offensively. And he has good instincts in the offensive zone. It looks like to me, he drew a penalty going to the net. He actually scored a really nice goal against the Bruins last year when he was in Utah, using his speed to drive wide and get to the net.
Of course, Bruins always making guys look good.
Yeah. So I think there's some instincts there. I also think that pairing spent a lot of time in their own zone and couldn't get pucks out. So mixed bag at best. He only played like just over 10 minutes. So I think Sturm clearly sheltering him quite a bit. So we'll see. He almost certainly gets another game because I don't think Asper will be ready for Buffalo. But yeah, I mean, right now, it would seem to me like once enough guys are healthy, he probably goes back on waivers, but you got to give him more than 10 and a half minutes. So another game or two and, get a better idea of what you have.
All right. So rubber meets the road now for the Bruins, right? Like, as I said off the top, it kind of feels like, they're lying in their coffin, the door's open. It's up to them if they want to, close it or not with this next road trip. It feels like this is
going to be like the Undertaker pop up.
Yeah.
Back to life.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, listen, they might be trying to close the casket lid, and then Taker's hand might go up and stop it. That would look like the Bruins winning at least 3 of the next 5, in my opinion. And honestly, in that scenario of winning 3, the other one of those 2 losses at least has to be an overtime loss. Like I think it has to. Like I think their worst record on this road trip, if they really want to convince anybody that they have a chance to stick around in this race, I think it's got to be 3-1-1. I think that's a fair bar. It's 3-2 when you think about it. 3 wins, 2 losses, but it's the overtime point. It's up to them. Like we're a reactionary podcast. I'm not predicting that they go 0-5 in this next trip or that their season comes to an end because they go 1-4. It's up to them. So you have Buffalo to start. Buffalo's won 7 straight games. Okay, bad time to be playing them. Now you've beaten them, I think twice already this year, but both in Boston. Those were close games, relatively speaking. I think certainly the second one was overtime. And then you gotta go play Calgary, who has been playing good hockey the last little while. Connor McDavid's got like 100 points in his last 25 games, so good luck with Edmonton. And then you have Vancouver, who just beat you. They've been playing good hockey since they traded Quinn Hughes. So, say what you want about them being a lower tier team. Well, not really. They're kind of like in a bit of a wild card race now in the West, and they've been playing good hockey and they beat you. So you can't talk about a team that just beat you a week ago and say, well, that should be a win, because it shouldn't be. And then Seattle. So I don't know, boys. You tell us. Tell us what the direction of the skate pod's going to go for the next couple of months. Are we going to be talking about draft positioning every week now? Or are we going to be talking about, some fun, meaningful games here? Because, having Toronto's first round pick this upcoming summer with Toronto struggling, there's a part of me that, it's like, I'm just hoping that pick is within 6 to 10 and they can kind of do the dirty work for you. And, if you have like Toronto's first round pick that's in the top 10 and then your pick is somewhere in the mid teens, like there's nothing wrong with that. It's like, I don't know. Like I know there's people out there that want the Bruins to tank and to finish top 5. If it happens, it happens. But I'm just saying, like, they're kind of playing with house money a little bit with already having Toronto's pick. So, because nobody expected Toronto to be where they are right now. I picked them to win the Atlantic Division. It shows how much I know. But they've been a regular season darling for a decade. So there was no reason to think it was going to happen this way.
This year.
Since we're talking prospects, little transition to World Juniors, because breaking news as we're recording, Team USA announced their final World Junior roster, and Bruins prospect Will Zellers is in. It seemed to be trending that way. Trevor Connolly, former Providence College Friar, Vegas prospect, got injured and is going to miss the tournament. So that I think Will Zellers was trending towards being on the right side of the bubble even before that, but that really opened up a spot for another offensive guy, someone who could get used on a power play. Zellers has been good in the pre-tournament exhibitions. So good for him. Like he earned that the hard way, because he was not even on the US's initial roster for camp. But they kind of took an extra look. He kept playing so well at North Dakota that they added him, and obviously he went to that camp and took advantage of it, and is now on the team along with James Hagens, obviously, who will be the US's first line center. So yeah, that's out for their first game of group play coming up on the 26th.
Yeah, and that's kind of a saving grace right now with the last year with the Bruins season going the way that it did. You were able to kind of lean into looking forward to World Juniors and Four Nations, the international hockey. And fortunately, we have we have World Juniors, we have Olympics as well to look forward to. So if the Bruins season goes south, there's at least going to be some other things to keep watching. And right now the way that Boston's playing, it's nice to be able to flip the channel to U.S. World Junior Hockey. It's a fun tournament every year. I love watching World Juniors. It's the best.
Yeah, and
not just USA, but all the teams.
There's no NHL games on the 26th, but there's World Juniors. So US's schedule is US Germany 6 p.m. December 26th, US Switzerland 6 p.m. December 27th. They have the 28th off. They play Slovakia December 29th. All these games are at 6 p.m. by the way, and then Sweden for the last group stage game December 31st. So New Year's Eve, also 6 p.m. And then after that would be the playoffs part of the tournament. So those 4 games all coming up. And if you're feeling like you need hockey on December 26th, that's your option right there.
Now, again, I mentioned it. Boston's going to Buffalo, so they play them on the 27th at 7 p.m. And then we have on next Monday, they're in Calgary at 9. And then New Year's Eve, they're playing the Oilers at 9:30. So it's a combination of late West Coast games, or not West Coast, Western Canada games, and New Year's Eve in the holidays, that Christmas to New Year's lull. So I guess we'll update the specifics of future recordings over the next week for us on Twitter. I think maybe Bridget and Scott, we should be able to record after maybe the Buffalo game, or maybe Tuesday after Buffalo and Calgary. We'll mull it over. We'll talk about it offline, and we'll let you guys know, because it's a funky schedule for the Bruins and for society. So just keep it here. But do you guys have any thoughts before we sign out?
Brian and I have been tweeting at each other during the last 15 minutes.
You're not supposed to be, filling Scott in on that. We've been paying attention, Scott, the whole time.
No, he has no idea. We're tweeting at each other about stranger things.
No, spoiling it.
No. There was a no spoilers. There was a tweet that went out on the feed. I always have my feed up when we're recording for current events and anything like that that's happening. But something popped up about the Duffer brothers who wrote Stranger Things and directed it. They said it's going to be a dark Christmas regarding Volume 2 and an emotional New Year's. And so I quote tweeted it and wrote Bruins handshake Stranger Things, because it's a dark Christmas for the Bruins and they're playing the Oilers on New Year's Eve. And I don't think that's going to be much better. So we'll see. And then, Bridget asked if they were playing Vecna, who I said he's on McDavid's wing, I think. So look out for him. But Scott has to catch up, so I don't want to say too much. You know who Vecna is, right, Scott?
Nope, no idea.
You don't know who? Oh God! All right, well, that's not that came out 3 years ago. Yeah, that's like someone spoiling Sopranos like 29. It's been long enough. You should watch it. I'm not accountable for those spoilers 3 years later.
No.
All right. Well, guys, it's Christmas tomorrow, so to all of our listeners, Merry Christmas to all of you. Thank you for listening. Bridget, Scott, any final words?
No, yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everyone. We'll be doing another episode before New Year, so not gonna wish anyone a Happy New Year yet.
Yeah, don't no tummy sticks. Don't be too nice right now, Scott. But we don't know exactly when. So again, just keep your eyes peeled and but there will be at least one before New Year's.
Oh, and lastly, if people aren't sick of me for some reason, and I'm totally get it if you are, but I am on radio Friday and Saturday, the 26th and 27th, noon to 4:00 on WEI. Friday, I'm with Tom Carroll and Dan Ball. Saturday, Tom Carroll and Joe Weil. So we'll definitely mix in some Bruins, but I gotta get my Patriots and Red Sox hot takes ready too. So
yeah, it's hey, Patriots, making the playoffs, first time since the Mac Jones rookie year, but it's a different feel obviously this time around. So
what's gonna happen to Tristan Cassis? Scott, I don't know if you get an opinion
Get
on
rid
that.
of him.
I'm all
Out.
for that.
See ya.
I
Ship
told you
him out.
guys. I told you guys there was a Netflix documentary on the Red Sox like a year ago, and there's a scene of him, and there's a 7-year-old kid asking Tristan Cassis to sign his baseball, heading back into the dugout after and Cassis like looks, he says, "What?" And the kid's like, "Can you?" And he's like, "No," and he goes down. It's like, that's literally all I needed to see about that kid to know. I'm not judging his whole personality on that, but it's like, you don't treat kids like that. You don't big league kids like that. Like, it's just not. So get that kid out of town. I don't care about him.
Maybe it wouldn't have been worth much at this point anyway.
People make fun of him because of like his, the yoga stuff and the nail paint. It's like that shit, whatever. Like, athletes can do whatever the hell they want, but I don't like when you treat kids with disrespect. I don't like that at all. So he can go, where the sun don't shine, in my opinion.
But I don't think baseball has a team in Winnipeg.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's where the Bruins are going on this road trip.
Yeah, exactly.
Not Winnipeg, but Edmonton. It'll be plenty dark in Edmonton.
Yeah,
it will be. All right. Thank you all very much for listening. Again, have a Merry Christmas, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Hey guys, thanks for watching the Skate Podcast. If you want to see more of our videos, visit our playlist.
Not in front of a screen? You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Don't forget to follow us on social media. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment.